Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is Kirsten here, and thank you for joining me again. This is a new episode of A Better Way with Kirsten Kimura podcast. Today we're going to talk about highly sensitive people and people who are experiencing TMS, mind-body syndrome, and why these people need to strength train, why this is honestly crucial for them. It's actually for everybody. I really do truly believe this, but it is extra important for those people who are highly sensitive and or have TMS. So I want to go over the term TMS one more time and highly sensitive person 2 or HSP. We'll talk about them a little bit, although I have talked about them recently, but because it's still a relatively new topic on this podcast, let's make sure that we all know what the deal is. Who is the type of person that we're talking about here? So I'm going to tell you all that in a second. But before that, I wanted to remind you that I have a brand new workout program that just came out this week. It came out on Tuesday. And this brand new workout program is body weight and bands only starter program. So this is for a starter. This is for a person who has not done strength training before or has done it but has had a year-long break or longer break. This program is also really great for people who are highly sensitive people or who are recovering from TMS, mind-body syndrome, because it is nothing intense. It's not hardcore. It's not pushing you to the point where you're shaking and you can't walk. It's nothing like that. This is a really good foundational body weight training program that will help you get started with strength training, either get started or restart. So I really hope that you check this program out if you are new to strength training. By the way, you don't have to be an HSP, you don't have to have TMS. Maybe you're just somebody who has never been consistent with strength training. This program will work really, really great for you. So make sure that you check out the show notes for that program. It is 8-week program. You're going to do 2 to 3 strength workouts a week, plus also mobility workouts. Those you can do however many you want per week. And this is going to be awesome. So check out the show notes for this program. Now, let's talk about then HSPs, highly sensitive people, and people with TMS. The full term is tension myositis syndrome, but I just call it the mind-body syndrome. It has so many different names. It had, neuroplastic pain, perceived danger pain. There are so many different names, but I just call it TMS because this is how when it first came out, this is what it was called. And I think everybody knows it by this name. So what is TMS? Once again, let's talk about it, is when you get physical symptoms in the body, unpleasant symptoms. They can be aches and pains. It can be fatigue. It can be burning. It can be numbness. It can be all sorts of unpleasant physical sensations in the body, but they don't have a physical origin, right? You don't have any problem in your tissue. So that's the case. And a lot of times people go see doctors. This is what I did when my back pain started. I went to physical therapists, I went to acupuncturist, went to chiropractor. I don't know how much money I spent at the chiropractor. I did all the stretching exercise. I bought online programs, everything to fix my physical body, but the problem was never there. The problem was in my heightened nervous system, inability to take my stress down, calm down, and also it was in my brain. So it has been shown when there's been so many studies on this topic now that these people's brains are actually different, right? They have certain regions of the brain that light up when they shouldn't be lighting up as intensely, and other parts of the brain that should be lighting up but are not doing it. So without getting into too many details, like our brains are different, right? They're wired a little bit different, but it doesn't mean that we cannot change it. So our brains are neuroplastic. So it means that if there is some firing issue gone wrong in the brain, and this is now causing you these physical symptoms, you can also unlearn this pain by creating changes in your brain. So this is what the neuroplasticity really helps us to do. So this was when I had my chronic back pain, and I have to add this, I will say that I still have it sometimes. So it can take a lot, like long time for many people to overcome this. It has to be daily work, and we have to use the right tools to get past this problem. It is absolutely possible. So when you go to YouTube and you search for, chronic pain recovery or TMS recovery, when you look up people like Dan Buglio or Jim Prusak. Check out their videos, and you see how many success stories they have from people who have recovered from this TMS Mindbody Syndrome by just changing the way they think, they actually behave, letting go of fear of the pain because there's no physical damage on the body at all. So check out definitely these two guys, but there's so many more so many more people who are working on these things. So this is a short explanation of TMS. And the other thing is HSP, so highly sensitive person. We talked about that a little bit too. So highly sensitive people are people who, again, they have a heightened nervous system. And actually, that's why I put them together with a TMS group, even though HSPs don't necessarily always have chronic symptoms in the body, but a lot of times they do have similarly like heightened nervous system, and it gets triggered by a lot of things that, people who have different nervous systems, they don't get triggered by that stuff. So highly sensitive people, they can be very sensitive to everything around them. That includes sounds and smells and people and interactions. They tend to, they have certain personality traits that are actually coming from this high sensitivity, such as, habit of people pleasing and conflict avoidance and being kind of fearful, like in this very fearful state all the time. Like, oh my God, is this going to happen? Oh my God, how's that going to turn out? They don't tend to like a lot of stimulation, so they prefer more like quiet time, really like small group interactions, not like large groups. So highly sensitive people also oftentimes develop problems in their bodies, but they're coming from the nervous system, right? And I'm actually an example of both. I am a highly sensitive person and TMS too, so it makes total sense. My nervous system is heightened, it is on high alert. I have to work on it to bring it down. And because it is in this state, then the brain starts kind of sending you pain messages in the body. So this is a really interesting thing. And I know that for a lot of you, it's like, it doesn't make sense. This is too weird. When I have a problem in my body, then I have to go to a doctor, and doctor has to fix it physically. If the doctor is able to fix it physically, cool. And I am not a doctor, so disclaimer here. I can't give you medical advice, obviously, but I'm saying that if you have been to doctors and all the procedures and nothing has worked, then it's time to look into that high sensitivity and TMS world and see if you may get help from here. So a lot of times, both types of people, and sometimes there's overlap, like I said, like myself, highly sensitives and TMS people, they are very fearful. So they get symptoms like anxiety. I had depression for many years, like I said, chronic aches and pains. And that makes us think that everything around us is dangerous, right? We're not supposed to, let's say, go out or lift weights, which we're going to talk about today, or put ourselves in situations where we have like discomfort. We just learn to stay away from these things. But what it does, it actually reinforces this idea that the world is dangerous, or lifting weights is dangerous, or being around people is somehow bad. It's dangerous, right? And so this is how our brains become very frightened, very frightened. And every little thing can cause this reaction in the brain that makes us feel like something's wrong. We get anxiety symptoms, right? I've talked about how to deal with anxiety. I've talked about it in this podcast. And if you have TMS, you may get like a symptom uptick. You may be like, oh my God, this was bad. I shouldn't have done this. So a lot of times we have these very, very fearful brains. And one way to get over the TMS symptom or symptoms that you have is to just start letting go of the fear of all the things, right? So many things. And one way of reducing your anxiety is also just start facing difficult situations instead of running away from it. So today we're going to talk about why strength training is so critical for these people, both highly sensitive people and people with TMS. It is critical. It's so important, and it's such a valuable tool if you want to overcome your TMS. There's nothing to overcome about being a highly sensitive person. So this is definitely not the case. You don't have to fix your sensitivity. But if you use strength training, and if you use it in ways that I'm going to describe to you today, you are actually just becoming more resilient. You are becoming a person who can handle difficulties with more ease. You're not going to freak out as easily. You just build more confidence and empowerment. So empowerment is my favorite word when it comes to talking about people with TMS or people who are highly sensitive. We have to build the sense of empowerment so that we can function better. And in the case of TMS, we can also get rid of our aches and pains or other symptoms. And strength training really is so amazing empowerment building tool. We all know how awesome it is for physical strength. Of course, 100%, million percent. I love it for that reason. But also a lot of times we don't talk about how amazing it is for your mindset, for your mental health, your ability to handle stress. So a lot of times this stuff doesn't get too much airtime because everybody's after, let's change your body composition. Again, I agree. It will do it. Fantastic. Nothing else does it better. We want to lose weight. We want to lose fat. We want to tone up. All really great things. Also some other amazing things like blood sugar regulation, hormonal balance. Like you can, if you use strength training correctly, you can get all of these things. You're going to look a lot better. But I think that from the perspective of highly sensitive person and somebody who's dealing with TMS, it is so important to highlight the importance of empowerment, the mental and emotional part of the equation too. And strength training is a fantastic tool to start building all that. And, I have dealt with my TMS for like so many, like a lot of years, right? And honestly, I'm so grateful that I, even despite the worst days that I had with my back, I still went on and trained as much as I could. I did what I could because I knew that this empowers me. And granted, I had some times, I remember, when I was a boot camp trainer, I had a couple of bad days so that I remember I had to show an exercise, right? I was like laying down on a mat, I was demonstrating in front of the class and I couldn't get up, right? Because my back was so bad. It was in so much intense pain. So I did have, moments like this, certainly. But I kept my mind strong because I knew what this is. I knew that this is not a dangerous thing. There's nothing physically wrong. I had been, checked so many, the chiropractor and, like I said, physical therapist and all that, like MRIs. There's nothing abnormal. And when I learned about this TMS, I just kept my mindset strong and I kept going. And I told myself when I'm doing physical exercise, all I'm doing, I actually like strengthening myself and I'm standing up um, against this problem that I have. Because when I back off and when I stay home and go to bed and hide, then that means that I'm kind of giving it the permission to do whatever it wants, right? And I understand that sometimes you can be having like so bad symptoms. I know that some people have had like horrifying stuff, like really, truly horrifying stuff where they cannot even move. And of course, I'm not saying anybody that in this situation you should like go and push yourself and lift barbells. No, this is not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that if your symptoms are like mild or moderate or tolerable, you have to, challenge yourself. And in your mind, you always have to challenge the symptom, right? Always have to challenge it. Say, hey, this is just BS. I know what you are, and I'm going to keep living my life. So if you kind of try to run away from it and hide and avoid everything, it's actually only going to get stronger. So there are so many tools that you can use. This was one of the tools. And actually, I was not going to talk about the mindset tools at all, TMS recovery mindset tools at all right now. But I mentioned one of the things, which is standing up for yourself and against that thing. But of course, also self-compassion, which can seem like it's on the opposite side of it, right? But a lot of times you need self-compassion, especially if your symptoms are really bad. Then you just have to be kind to yourself. A lot of times inner child work will be really helpful. And then, but still you are telling your brain that I'm not broken. There's nothing wrong about, how I'm feeling. I'm okay. I'm safe. Everything's good. So these are like the very basic tools, and there's so many people who can, teach you these things. But I wanna come back to the strength aspect of it all. So if you're a person who is experiencing tension myositis syndrome, TMS, mind body syndrome, whatever you want to call it, and or you are a highly sensitive person, then strength training is so important for you so that you can empower your mind, right? And I want to share with you one testimonial from a person that I've been working with and who also had lots of chronic issues when she had TMS. For over a decade, I viewed myself as chronically ill, weak and frail. All parts of my body had symptoms at one point or another. I worked with every type of doctor, including a variety of specialists, naturopathic healers, holistic healers. I tried every diet, supplement, medication, type of treatment, every physical therapy, chiropractic care, acupuncture, and even 2 surgeries. Nothing helped. Then, in one of my hardest times, when I was bedridden and unable to drive because of double vision, I couldn't even walk because of severe pain, I learned about TMS. And for the first time, I had real, true hope. And she continues. It took a few years of ups and downs with implementing the TMS mindset tools for me to believe my body was actually okay. Slowly, I started getting back to living more with driving, taking walks, doing more around the house, running errands, taking art classes, etc. It took a lot of patience and compassion because I had many setbacks along the way. It wasn't until last spring when I started lifting weights that things really clicked for me. Lifting weights was powerful evidence to my scared brain that I was really okay. My mindset helps me lift, and lifting helps my mindset. I've never felt stronger physically and mentally. I still have symptoms visit, but I am no longer in fear because I now see myself as strong, healthy, and capable. All right, so I might as well mic drop here because it said everything. But I'm not gonna, I still wanna add some things, but it said everything, right? So she had all these symptoms for over a decade. She got better by using the mindset tools, and then she started lifting. And this was really what she needed to end this thing. Or she says, I still have some symptoms visit, but now I know what to do about them, and they're not gonna get me, right? So it is so important that if you have TMS or if you are a highly sensitive person, which this person is as well, that you empower your mindset, right? With positive self-talk, reassuring positive self-talk, self-compassion, all these things, but also strength training. And here's one super important thing. So if you have TMS pain, such as I had the back pain, right? It is important that you understand that the strength training is not gonna fix your fix your pain, excuse me, because it's going to heal your muscles or, I don't know, straighten your spine or whatever, right? That's not the reason why strength training is going to work for you. The reason is that it builds the sense of empowerment in you so that you will now teach your brain who's the boss here, right? Because your brain is scared. You think that stuff's bad. There's danger, danger, danger around you. But you're going to prove by doing the difficult thing, such as strength training, that this is not the case. There's no danger. I'm not weak. I can do stuff. So that's the thing, right? That's the most important thing. And this is why I recommend strength training to all sensitive people, whether you are dealing with mind-body syndrome or not. You need strength training for your mental well-being as much as you need it for your physical fitness. So it really is the case. So let me tell you a couple of ways how the empowerment works and why it matters so much. Well, if you lift weights, what are you doing? You're struggling sometimes, right? It's not always easy. If it's always easy, you're probably doing it wrong. So you have to struggle sometimes. This is normal part of strength training. Let's take an example. Let's take an overhead press, one of my favorite exercises. Let's say that you have already put I don't know, a decent amount on your barbell or dumbbells, whatever you're using. And you're on your 8th rep, and this is hard, but you want to get the 8th one. Are you going to push it or are you going to give up? You're probably going to push it, right? And this is how you face the challenge, right? And now when you have a TMS and you have some sort of ache or pain, you can't be just like, oh, I'm going to give up. You're going to be like, no, I know what this is. And I'm going to be strong and I'm going to be standing here and I know that I will get through this, right? So it's a very, very similar thing. Facing the challenge. So it's like we can't run away from our problems. This is how they always come back. If you remember the anxiety episode that I did, I talked about the same thing. If you want to run away from it, if you do more work, which was always my strategy, let's just ignore the anxiety, it's just dive into more work or distract ourselves in some other ways, you're running away from it. It's going to come back and visit. So what you actually have to do, right, with the anxiety, as we talked about it in this podcast, to just be with it, look at it, face it, right? Same thing with other symptoms. So there is this method called in the TMS world called somatic tracking. So let's say that you have severe pain in your leg, so you don't like scream and like, try to avoid it and run away from it. You actually sit with it. You let it be there. This is called, um, uh, somatic tracking. So you feel it, you let it be there. This is facing the challenge. Now the same thing in a weight room or wherever you're working out. You're not running away when things get difficult, right? So you're facing the challenge, you're lifting your weight. So this is how it works. Strength training obviously also builds confidence. So every time you're able to do something that you didn't think you're able to do, you are building another piece of evidence that you are confident. This confidence piece is just, it's truly so amazing. I've been able to witness so many amazing transformations working with clients for so many years. And then this was even like before I knew about high sensitivity and high sensitive people. Looking back, I can clearly see, yes, this is definitely a highly sensitive person because I've learned about it now. And just thinking back and remembering their transformation, like how they started showing up in their lives differently because they were lifting weights, it was incredible. And when I did a little survey when I was preparing for my 14-day free course, which you can also get when you click the link in the show notes, I asked a group of highly sensitive women like how their lives have changed as a result of strength training. And the results were amazing. They're like, I'm now speaking up. I'm now making my decisions more confidently. I don't need to ask everybody's opinions. I'm not people pleasing all the time anymore. I'm not thinking that, when I don't get a text message back in the first 5 minutes after sending it, that I've done something bad or wrong and the person's probably mad at me. So if this stuff that sounds familiar to you, then it's so interesting how by building confidence and building this little bit like, I don't give a shit, excuse me, right? If you build this way of thinking, you build it in the weight room, you actually take it with you to the life outside of it too. Um, and the other thing is stress tolerance. If you lift weights, you just become better at dealing with stress. It actually comes back to the same thing like facing, right? You face this stuff. You can't run away from these things. And this is what is so important to again emphasize that problems don't go away when you don't look at them. Most of the time they actually get worse if you don't look at them. So this is your TMS 101. If you like want to escape, want to run away, want to ignore, then things are not going to get better. You have to be with them. So I think that strength training is a really amazing confidence builder for people who are dealing with TMS. It can really help you with the recovery. Again, I've talked about it so often, but go back to Amanda's podcast that I did a while ago and check this out. See what she has to say about all of these things, like how she really built her level of confidence, and that helped her to get through the worst part, or not the worst part of TMS. She had already been like overcome the worst part of TMS, but it was really the tail end that it helped her to overcome. So it was really, really amazing. And if you're a highly sensitive person too, like you have so much potential. If you haven't started strength training yet, and you're dealing with like life seems always like it's a freaking struggle bus, like everything is so hard, like nobody gets me, people are different, I'm different, I'm weak, I can't speak up, I still do the people pleasing. So if this is you, and if you haven't done any strength training yet, you have so much potential, there's so much room to grow, and this is great news because you can literally get started today. So you can get started with my program. This is such a good entry point for all of you who haven't done any strength training, or you haven't done it consistently, or if you're a highly sensitive person, if you have TMS, please check out the program. I just like truly believe in this. I love this topic so much. And I just love seeing people kind of stepping up and owning their power. And this is really what happens when you lift weights, whether it is just body weight, it's dumbbells, maybe later on it's barbells, all kinds of cool stuff can happen. But you got to start somewhere. Like I told you in the last podcast episode too, got to be somewhere. Everybody's a beginner at one point, and this new program, Train to Build Starter, is the perfect starting point for you. Also, I want to let you know, if you are my emailing list, then you have already received the code that gives you a little discount. This code is good until May 24th. So make sure that you use the code before that. And also my other program, Train to Build, original one, which is for intermediate level. This program is on sale with that code as well. So if you are already a little bit more advanced and you do not need the beginner program, then sign up for Train to Build, intermediate level, the original Train to Build. Again, if you're emailing this, you will get the code that gives you actually 1/4 of the regular price. So this is pretty good. All right, thank you so much for being here. Please let me know if you have any questions about this topic at all. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about it. So let me know how it can help you, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.